Do you see the full screen?
Yes.
Yep.
No, it's the presenter view,
It's a
right?
yeah. So it's a half screen. Yeah. Right. This is the full screen.
Now you should see the full screen.
Right.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience, everyone. Let's get started. Okay. Thanks, Mohan and team, for having us. I'm Karthik Gopalakrishnan, Senior Product Manager at Amazon. And I have alongside with me Vikram Khatri. Vikram, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, this is Vikram Khatri, Senior DB for RDS for DB2 product.
Cool. So in this session for Amazon RDS for DB2, we would like to talk about a few topics, right? We'd like to first talk about what RDS is, and then seeing the poll results, like many of you are not using RDS, it's a good opportunity for us to start from the foundations. And then like talk about why do you need a managed databases. And then let's deep dive into the Amazon RDS for DB2, the features and the capabilities. And then moving on, like we'll focus on how DB2 is built for RDS, like what are the specific features or how the collaboration between AWS and IBM works with this particular service. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with some recent launches that we did and some key takeaways from the session. Let's get started. So I'd like to provide you a very quick overview of what RDS is. Again, RDS has been around for 14 plus years. So the overview here is just a very high level. Happy to do a follow-up with more details on it. But by end of this session, I hope that you get a fair bit of understanding of what RDS is and what RDS for DB2 is. So Amazon Relational Database Service, or Amazon RDS, including Amazon Aurora, is a collection of managed database services. And these database services make it simple to set up, operate, and scale the databases in the cloud with just few clicks, right? So launched in 2009, customers benefit from over a decade of proven operational expertise, the security best practices, and innovation for cloud-native databases. So as a managed database, Amazon RDS helps you to remove all the inefficient and time-consuming database administration tasks without needing you to, like when we say about all these inefficient tasks, we are referring to the provisioning of infrastructure or maintaining the software. So as a result of this innovation, Amazon RDS offers you the ability to customize your managed workload for high availability and durability you need for your production workload. Also, it provides you the freedom and the broadest choice to deploy and scale relational databases in the cloud. For example, RDS is available or supports both a mix of both open source and commercial databases. Open source databases like Postgres, MySQL, and MariaDB are supported. And then we also have the SQL Server and Oracle that have been supported for many years, and now DB2 is supported. We also have Aurora, which is our flagship database service, which can be run as Aurora Postgres or Aurora MySQL. So this session will focus on RDS for DB2, but RDS for DB2 again is built on the same foundations of other RDS services. So why did we build this service, right? Like I'd like to talk about like some of the common pain points that DB2 customers face, especially the DBAs who are managing them, and why we build this managed database service for DB2. So talking to DB2 customers across industries, we found that we still find that like customers self-managing DB2 databases find it more time-consuming or complex and expensive. For example, self-managing DB2 databases, you have to spend a considerable time and resources on undifferentiated administrative tasks such as provisioning of the hardware. You have to first procure it and then provision them with a particular team, request for it, and then scale the hardware based on the needs. You also need to set up the DB2 software, make sure you get the right version, and all the underlying stack under the database need to be taken care as well. You have to set your configuration parameters and all the settings that comes with the databases for your workload. And it doesn't finish there. You also have to, on a continuous way, patch your databases, make sure it is up to date, manage the backups, and in case there is a like you need to recover the databases, you need to have a way to recover them. For running production workloads, it is a given that you are running your databases on a high availability and disaster recovery. So what that means is you have to use native capabilities to ensure that you set up both a primary and a standby instance and ensure that a failover works smoothly between them. Either it is within a region or across region, you have to ensure that the databases, DB2 databases that you are self-managing are highly available, right? So when running production workloads, customers tell us like they try to avoid downtimes, both unplanned as well as planned downtimes as much as possible. And they also want to ensure that, let's say, their application requires peak capacity for some with some seasonality involved in it. They have to ensure that there are no downtime for either scaling the infrastructure underneath it. So there comes the performance need of it as well. So your databases need to be having the ability to scale up and down, and also have to like scale your storage per the needs of the application. So all these comes with a lot of time, like it takes away a lot of precious time that you would otherwise have to do like other higher valuable tasks on the databases, right? So moreover, customers have to also ensure that like your databases are authenticated, right? That secure and compliant. Like when you say secure, like the authenticated, like encryption is taken care both at rest and transit. And you also have to ensure that you, if your workload needs to be on a certified for a particular regulatory requirement, you have to be compliant with that. So all these are reasons or like areas where RDS could help, and we saw an opportunity where we could help DB2 customers and especially the DBAs who are managing them to take away some of these administrative tasks. I would not say take away, maybe the better word is help them automate some of these tasks so that they can manage these tasks very easily with a few clicks of an option in cloud. At the same time, they can use that time to focus on other higher valuable tasks like database optimization, or schema redesign, or application optimization. So with that need in mind, like we have spoken to hundreds of customers before we launched the service. So at reInvent last year, 2023, in collaboration with IBM, we launched the Amazon RDS for DB2 service. So as you all know, DB2 is an IBM relational database, and it supports large-scale transactional analytical workloads. DB2 is available across multiple platforms, Linux, Unix, Windows, which is LUW, AX, and also the mainframe platforms. So we launched RDS for DB2, which underneath runs on Amazon Linux platform. So if you're running DB2 LUW, you can easily migrate them. If you're running on AX, or let's say if you're running on even mainframe, so you could also migrate. You have migration options to migrate to RDS for DB2. So RDS for DB2, again, built on the same foundations as other RDS services that I just mentioned, like RDS, like all the open source and commercial databases. It helps you to automate the undifferentiated administrative task, like the infrastructure provisioning, the backups, patching, and monitor. So what it provides you is it helps you to set up, operate, and scale the DB2 databases in the cloud. And you can set up a highly available DB2 instance in a few minutes with few clicks instead of hours of provisioning and configurations. You don't you can ensure that the databases are highly available with an automated failover with a single database endpoint, so your application teams are not disrupted during any kind of failures. So to get started, like you can create a RDS DB2 instance from a AWS management console. You can create a new database or migrate your existing databases, which we'll cover in this session as well. From a licensing perspective, you can bring your own licenses so that you can continue your same workload, migrate it from, let's say, on-premises or any self-managed environment to RDS for DB2. You can use your standard or advanced editions. So what the service essentially supports is a single node, transactional, mixed, and analytical workload. What we don't support with RDS for DB2 directly is the service actually runs on Linux platform or Amazon Linux. So we don't directly support mainframe, but we support mainframe migrations, or we help customers migrate from mainframe to RDS for DB2. Similarly, we don't directly support a data warehousing configuration, but you can run single node analytics on it. We don't directly support PureScale, but if your workload doesn't require PureScale for some reason, you could always configure them to single node. The service comes with a service SLA, and it has a high availability and disaster recovery and all the standard features built on it, which we'll go over in a bit. But to sum it up, we feel like built on the same foundations as other RDS services, the service can meet all your production workloads. And we have customers today, enterprise customers, running RDS for DB2, like the leading airlines in North America, or we have FSI customers who are using RDS for DB2. So now that we saw at a high level what RDS for DB2 is, let's get into the features, right? So again, this slide kind of shows like what features we'll talk about in the subsequent slides. So now that we looked into RDS for DB2, let's see these 4 key areas that are important to run your DB2 databases for mission critical workloads. So let's start with easy to administer. So as I said, RDS for DB2, you can create a database with few clicks in minutes instead of hours. So what it does is it helps you to avoid the administrative tasks which we discussed, and it also comes with the built-in monitoring like RDS enhanced monitoring and CloudWatch dashboards. This way you can monitor both your system and database level metrics. If you already have a monitoring tool like a database management console or DSM top, you can continue to use those with RDS for DB2 instances. But we also have other ways like the system to monitor the system level metrics in AWS. Secondly, RDS makes your databases more performant and scalable. Like what I mean by that, like is it gives you the ability to scale up and down your compute, and with just a few clicks or a push of a button. When you scale up and down the compute, there is often a minimal downtime for the application. But then with the storage scaling, whether you change your storage type or you auto scale your storage, there is no downtime required. So you can even set your auto scaling of storage, and you can set a limit for your databases so your applications are not disrupted. For supporting, we'll see the limits of the service, right? Like how much you can scale up and how little you can scale, like you can spin up an instance and what's the maximum storage in subsequent slides. For supporting production workload, your databases need to be highly available and durable. And we understand that that's a given for DB2 customers who are running production workloads. So RDS DB2 makes your databases highly available and durable by supporting options such as RDS multi-AZ, which is a storage-based data replication. We have automated backups and snapshots with the point-in-time recovery feature, which gives you RTO, RPO across different requirements, right? Multi-AZ has a different RTO, RPO, and automated backups with PIDR has a different RTO, RPO. You also have the cross-region automated backups, which we'll go through in a bit. Furthermore, RDS makes your databases or helps you to keep it secure and compliant. with all the security options like encryption, address, and transit, the authentication, and the compliance certification platforms. So without wasting much time, let's get started, right? Like I will, today we could not do a demo of RDS for DB2, but if you Google on, or if you refer to YouTube, you will be able to see lots of videos on how to create an RDS for DB2 instance with the AWS Management Console. And we also encourage you to try it yourself, right? Like it's a very simple, straightforward way where you go to AWS Management Console and click on RDS, and you will see DB2, and you can set up your create your database instance with few clicks in few minutes. It hardly takes like 10 to 15 minutes to create a database instance, RDS DB2 instance. So we'll focus on from performance and scalability aspects. Okay, so how much can you scale your RDS DB2 instance, right? And we're talking about your cloud. So you can scale your RDS DB2 compute and storage resources with only a few clicks or an API call, often with no downtime, right? We currently support over like 40 plus instance types, or it keeps increasing every day. We have a mix of general optimized, general purpose or memory optimized or burstable instance types. So there's a wide range of EC2 instance types that are supported with RDS for DB2. As you can see on the screen, you can spin up as little as a 2 vCPU, 2 gigabyte of memory instance. And then you can scale up to 128 vCPUs and 4 terabytes of RAM. And that's a current, based on the current instance types that we support. As we support, let's say, newer instance types like the 7th generation, these limits keep increasing every time we support new instance types, and we do it on an ongoing basis. From a storage perspective, you can scale up to 64 terabyte of storage. That's the limit we have, and if you have databases with higher than 64 terabyte, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to take that feedback and see what we can do with your higher storage requirement. The service also helps you to configure the IOPS that you need, right? Like with the storage types. We have both a general purpose storage, which is DB3, and an IO2 Block Express. With both of these, you can configure, I think with GP3, you can configure both IOPS and throughput. With IO2, you can configure your IOPS. So up to 4,000 Mbps of throughput and 2 to 6,000 of IOPS, and there is no downtime for storage scaling. The service also comes with a lot of other capabilities, right? For example, if you're running your development workload, or if you're working on testing a service, and you don't need to, you don't need it for next few days, you can stop the instance for those, like for those hours or for those days, and you can start back those instances, which helps you to save cost from an infrastructure perspective, which gives you more of a pay-per-use model. We'll talk about RDS pricing and the licensing model and the options that are available with RDS for DB2 in a bit. But again, from a performance and scalability perspective, this provides you a view of what the limits, or I would say the different ways you can scale up and down the service. Moving on, let's move on to multi-AZ, which is an important topic, or I would say high availability. So at AWS, we always recommend you to design for failure. Running your RDS DB2 instance with a single AZ or a single availability zone within a region introduce single points of failure in your architecture, and that too for your production workload. So RDS for DB2 or RDS multi-AZ creates a synchronously replicated standby instance into another AZ for failover. We'll discuss this with a diagram in a couple of slides, but imagine that you have a region like US East 1. Within that US East 1, you will have several availability zones. When you create your RDS DB2 instance with multi-AZ, you will have your instance automatically set up in the primary availability zone, and it will also be replicated to a standby instance on a different availability zone, which are usually several miles apart. So each availability zone is an isolated location within a region consisting of one or more discrete data centers with redundant infrastructure like power, networking, and connectivity. The availability zones within the region are separated by, as I said, like many several miles from each other, but they have a high bandwidth, low latency networking between one another. And they're also like over fully redundant dedicated fiber networks, which are sufficient to accomplish the synchronous replication. Again, let's assume that you create a RDS DB2 instance with multi-AZ. You have a primary DB instance, and it's synchronously replicated across the availability zones, right? What it provides you is data redundancy, eliminate the I/O freezes, and minimize the latency spikes during the system backups. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect is because the instance itself is unaware of the issues outside of itself, they are monitored by an external observer to maintain the consensus over a quorum. So this helps to ensure that the failover happens whenever there is a failure on one of the availability zones. The failover process is initiated by an automation or through RDS API. And in the event there are disruptions at an instance or storage level, the observer process is able to automatically failover by promoting the standby or to start accepting read or write actions. So you may be wondering now, like how to redirect all the new instance after the failover. The redirection to the primary instance is provided through a DNS. The DB instance is a DNS endpoint that automatically gets repointed, so your application can resume your database operation without the need for a manual intervention. That's a very important aspect here. So some of the issues that may lead to the failover, right? Like first of all, you can initiate a failover. You can reboot your instance with failover to ensure like you test this failover, RDS multi-AZ failover. But other external factors like, for example, extended connectivity issues or instance storage volume becoming unavailable or abnormal performance like substantial or prolonged increase in latency or reduction in bandwidth. All these can lead to a failover. And these failover happen typically less than 120 seconds and often with no downtime or RPO 0. Again, this picture shows how what an RDS for a multi-AZ architecture is. The service actually, since it is built on the same foundations as other services, I keep saying that phrase because you will see this feature available with all the other RDS engines as well. And we have built a lot of operational expertise on this, and we have like I would say like hundred thousands of customers using it today for other engines, as well as the customers who are using it for DB2. You can see that there is an AWS cloud, and then you have a region, and then you have two availability zones. For each of these availability zones, you have a RDS DB2 instance, and each of these have their own elastic block storage or block stored volume. And when you create a RDS DB2 instance using the AWS management console or through other means, you can turn on the multi-AZ so that when you create them on availability zone A, you can automatically create RDS automatically creates another instance on availability zone B. And there is a storage-based replication that happens between the two instances. So you can monitor this, right? How like the failovers happen, or let's say if your availability zones are available, your instances are available. And by now you might be wondering, why are we not using the DB2 native capabilities for high availability? Why not, right? Like we did have those options to use like things like DB2 HADR or maybe say other logical replications, but again, using my phrase built on the same foundations, we went with RDS multi-AZ. That way, we are able to manage your databases provide you your databases with the high availability and durability needed. As I said, the RTO is typically under 2 minutes and RTO is 0 with this case. So now that we saw high availability, let's talk about other aspects, right? Like for example, the backups. So RDS provides you two different methods of backing up and restoring your DB instance. So one is the automated backup, and another is a database snapshots or DB snapshots. Let's talk about automated backups here. RDS provides you the capability to schedule these automated backups of your instances with a single click of a button. So you can choose to enable automated backup at the time of instance creation, or you can do it later as well. We always encourage you to do it at the start of, so that for production workloads, you have an automated backup setup. If your DB instances do not have automated backups enabled, you can enable them at any time, right? Even if you don't do it at the start. By setting up, you can also set up a retention period, right? Like when you enable automated backups, you're actually setting up your backup retention to a positive non-zero value. So when automated backups are enabled, your RDS instance and databases is taken offline, and a backup is immediately created. And backups can occur daily during your preferred backup window. If backup requires more time than allotted to a backup window, the backup continues after the window ends and until it finishes. The backup window can't overlap with the weekly maintenance window. For the DB instance, we ensure that if you don't define a backup window, the system will assign it for you, which will be a random 30 minutes window from an 8-hour block time, depending on your AWS region. So that's a very high level what automated backups are. But you can define, again, this is a bit more details on RDS automated backups, right? You can define your retention period up to 35 days. If you require more than, retain your snapshots more than 35 days, you can always check your manual database snapshots. Yeah, like you can see the picture, right? When these backups are incremental, we don't take a full snapshot every day so that it impacts your performance. When you first create an instance and you take your first enable your automated backup, we take a complete snapshot of your instance, and that's the day one. And then from day two, it's all the incremental backups or snapshots that gets taken. But it doesn't stop there. Even between the days, like every 5 minutes, archive logs are backed up to the Amazon S3. Why do we do that? To provide you a better recoverability aspect, or provide you a RTO of 5 minutes. We have a feature called point-in-time recovery. You can restore to any time back in last 5 minutes, and that helps you to recover your databases to that point in time. So we talk about backups or snapshots. These can be done on a same region, or these can also be done on another region. And what's the advantage of that? Like doing it in another region is you can set up actually a low-cost disaster recovery if your workloads don't require RTO or RPO in minutes. Let me explain why I say that. So snapshots or automated snapshots are incremental, so they optimize your storage cost. So when you set up an RDS automated backup, you can also set up a cross-region copy of that. Let's say you can see that in the picture, region 1, you create an RDS DB2 instance. You set up an automated backup. It comes with the ABS snapshot and the archive logs. When you set up that instance, you can also select for cross-region automated backups, which will mean that in another region, all those snapshots as well as the archive logs will be copied over. In that region, you don't have a DB2 instance running. So what does this mean is it's a low-cost option I'll tell you how to recover that in a moment, but you don't have an instance or you don't need to pay for any instance, or you don't need to pay for licenses because it's only a snapshot and archive logs required. So let's say for some region, which in a rare case, a region goes down, or you want to make use of that snapshot, you can set up a point-in-time recovery that I just mentioned, first by creating an instance and do a point-in-time recovery on another region and use those snapshots and archive logs. So that provides you, I would say, there are ways to automate this, and we have blogs that shows how to automate all these aspects, like creating the instance, like first of all, sensing when a region goes down, creating an instance, and then doing point-in-time recovery. If you do that, like, you'll maybe able to achieve the RTO and RPO in like less than, like, I would say, like, or maybe in several minutes instead of under 10 minutes. So that's one disaster recovery option. What I don't have here in the slide is you can also set up replication, logical replication between two RDS DB2 instances. So that's a given, right? You can set up, let's say, logical replication using tools like IBM Q replication or AWS Database Migration Service. We recently launched a blog for that, and you can replicate the data from RDS DB2 instance on one region to another region. Customers today are using that extensively, and they use it for two purposes. First, they use it for creating a readable replica, and they offload their read queries on that. And then the other reason is they provide a disaster recovery option in case a primary region goes down. And usually this disaster recovery option provides a lesser RTO, RPO compared to the automated backups that we provide. So we have a wide range of options, like here, like you can pick whatever meets your workloads. We don't have the support for HADR on RDS for DB2 yet, and we'll let you know whenever we plan to support it. And if you are interested to know about the roadmaps or any of these features, feel free to connect with us. We can share AWS roadmaps are confidential, and we can share it under NDA to you. Let's move on to the security, right? So I'll keep it really short on the security. RDS makes it, first of all, easy to control your network access to your database. So RDS lets you to run your instances in Amazon Virtual Private Cloud or Amazon VPC, which enables you to isolate your database instances and connect to your existing IT infrastructure through an industry standard encrypted IPsec VPN, right? From a resource level permission perspective, you can use the identity access level management to provide resource level role permissions and controls. From an encryption perspective, we support the storage-based data encryption at rest using the AWS Key Management Service and the TLS v2 production for data in transit. Authentication. This is one of the most asked questions, like one of the features that are most asked. We thought about it when we first designed the service, and we wanted to ensure that you have a continuity as well as you have ways to modernize your authentication mechanisms. You can continue to use your DB2 local users to authenticate. You can also use things like Amazon Managed Active Directory with or without Kerberos to authenticate your RDS DB2 instances. We talk about the certifications and how much time it requires for you to get your DB2 workloads or instances certified for your organizations. RDS DB2 is certified with the major certification programs or standard programs like HIPAA, PCI, SOC, and others. So RDS as a platform is certified, so RDS DB2 naturally gets all these certifications. So it helps you to accelerate your migrations, ensuring that these programs are taken care by RDS. Okay, now that we looked into the core capabilities of RDS for DB2, let's change gears and let's talk about the licensing and pricing. Let's talk about the RDS pricing model first. So imagine that you have a stack where you have instances and storage and IOPS, which we call it as a base layer, and RDS as a pricing model for it. The pricing model allows you to pay only for what you use. You have the flexibility to provision exactly what you need, depending on the instance sizes. And because this is a managed service, especially on cloud, you can always scale up your instance or scale down your instance, so you don't need to provision for peak capacity. And that also indirectly helps you to optimize your other aspects like licensing. Storage can scale automatically, so you don't need to like provision more storage, and like you can just set up an automatic storage, so you're based on your application needs, and it'll automatically scale. So RDS from a pricing model decouples the storage and compute, so they're charged individually. So compute, depending on the instance type and the instance size, you'll see a price for the compute. And depending on the storage type and storage class and storage type, like you will see the volume of storage you need, you will see a price. Storage also has additional factors like IOPS. So every storage class and the storage type comes with a base throughput and IOPS. But if you need more throughput in case of GB3, or if you need more IOPS in case of both GB3 and IO2, you can always like add those IOPS and pay additional cost. Like the net of it is like you can exactly pay for what you use. You can always scale up all these resources with a easier way. So you can optimize your cost, infrastructure and management costs with RDS pricing model. Next, let's talk about the licensing models that we support. I'll talk about the easier one, which is the right side, which is bring your own licensing. So with RDS for DB2, you can bring your own licenses, DB2 licenses, and use it on RDS for DB2. Please ensure that those licenses are either DB2 standard or advanced editions, because those are the only supported editions for 11.5 apart from the community. So we support all the supported editions for like non-free supported editions, the standard and advanced. We have seen customers using other editions, like or evolve from other editions, older editions. In those cases, please always reach out to your IBM representative. They'll be happy to engage you in a conversation and help you convert those licenses so that you can run it on RDS for DB2. So that's one aspect of bring your own licenses. The other aspect is you can make use of a DB2 subcapacity licensing on RDS. In the case of managed service, RDS DB2 allows you to do that, or IBM allows you to use the subcapacity licensing policy, while you may not be able to use it on self-managed environments on cloud. Even on like Amazon EC2, you may not be able to use this subcapacity. So what does it mean is, let's say if you have your hyper-threading turned off in RDS for DB2, which is the case today, and for every core of licenses, you can deploy it on 2 vCPUs on RDS for DB2. This conversion especially helps to ensure that you are sufficiently licensed or not under-deployed, when you are migrating from a powerful infrastructure from on-premises like AX. So from a support perspective, you can continue to use your active IBM support account. You can contact your IBM representative or IBM support team for DB2 related service requests, any database related service requests. But if you have AWS support account, like if you are running a RDS DB2, you assume you have a AWS support account. You can contact AWS for RDS service requests. So this is one model where you can continue to run your existing licenses. Then we have the newest addition to the licensing model, and this is a unique model that is only available on RDS DB2, not even on other RDS services, which is the AWS Marketplace license option. This option provides a host of Benefits for customers to create RDS DB2 instances. First, it increases the agility to purchase the DB2 licenses on demand, like meaning hourly DB2 licenses for your development and migration needs. And it provides you a self-service model. The experience is very simple. You go to AWS Marketplace today and search for DB2 Standard or Advanced. You click on subscribe, you will see that IBM is selling DB2 hourly licenses there. Just click on subscribe, and then you will automatically be redirected to your RDS console for creating the RDS DB2 instances. When you create your RDS DB2 instance, let's say using a standard edition purchased on Marketplace, the Marketplace and the RDS are integrated. So based on your usage, you will automatically be billed, and you will have a single bill for both RDS as well as your Marketplace charges from IBM. Again, here, IBM is the seller of your record. And if you are looking to have let's say you have the option to have both public offer, which is the price that is available publicly. You can also have private offers from IBM sales. So please feel free to contact them and get a custom price, if applicable, for your RDS DB2 instances. We see this option, like we actually built it based on the customer needs, right? We saw many customers ask for this for their to get started on RDS DB2 very quickly with a few clicks on both, and also with DB2 licenses on it. So this is a perfect option for those. You can start your POCs, or you can run your development workloads. Let's say even you stop your instance, RDS DB2 instance. You do not only pay for, not only the billing stops for the RDS instances, it also stops for the licenses. So this is also a good option in case you're exploring, you have a seasonal or like bursty workloads to avoid the cost of over-provisioning. So I highly encourage you to check this out. That summarizes the licensing and pricing options. I'll now turn it over to Vikram for the migration options. Vikram?
Thanks, Karthik. I'll take the control back and give it to Vikram. So we have quite a few questions, good questions in the question section. We'll take it once we complete Vikram's part of it.
Sure. And you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you well. I'm gonna make
All right.
you.
All right. So migration. So particularly for the DBAs, migration is on their top of their mind. That if they bring their database to RDS, how they are going to do the migration. So when we built the service, this was at the top of our mind, and we wanted to make it as seamless as possible. So if you are running your databases on Linux environment, your journey is going to be very smooth. Take a backup, restore it, you are done. If you have a very large database, you just take an online backup. You say, oh, I cannot take any downtime. I have a 20 terabyte database. Take an online backup, put it to S3, restore it. Your RDS database will be in a roll forward pending mode. You can set up a job through which you can keep on copying the archive log files to S3 and set up a job on the other side, and it will keep on applying those archive log files to RDS DB2. So this process can be fully automated. Like it's a simple scripting that you do. And we have sample scripts through which we can help you. Once you are ready and say, I am ready to cut over, you just run a stored procedure on database side and say, roll forward complete. And your database is now, you have magically switched from on-premises to RDS DB2 for Linux databases. That's as simple as it could be. So you could do a one-time migration, and you could do a seamless nearly zero downtime migration. I mean, purists say, hey, you cannot have a zero downtime because still you would need some seconds or 1 or 2 minutes to cut over. So that's why we have to say near zero downtime. So you could have a absolutely closer to zero downtime migrations for Linux databases. Now, what if you have databases on Windows, Power, Linux, or mainframe? Then we have provided the native tools support, particularly if you are very familiar with native DB2 tools. So first of all, Amazon provides DMS, which is Database Migration Service. It's free of cost, and it is you spin up a EC2 instance and then install DMS or provision a DMS instance automatically. Connect to the source, connect to the target. It can do the job pretty well for you. So DMS has options for one full-time load, and it can do the synchronization. What DMS cannot do, synchronization from the mainframe, because that work is not yet complete. So, so for mainframe, you have the options where you could migrate from queue replication, or you could use queue replication. So if you are an expert in queue replication, task will be very, very easy for you. We have published a blog paper through which you can know the steps, and we have tested with IBM how queue replication should work from Linux, from mainframe, and from Power, and from Windows. So that's one option. Other option, if your database is not on the mainframe, but if you have a supported database, either it is Power or Windows on DB2, you can set up logical migrations or the logical synchronization of transactions from source to the target. So as far as the experience is concerned, you would see a very good experience if you are on Linux. Power and Windows, it is a little bit longer journey, but we recommend you use DMS if your database size is small. If your database size is very big, then relying on the native utilities of DB2 is going to be very, very helpful. Now, we have done extensive performance testing on this. So what I mean by performance testing, we have spun up to 25 terabyte of a database. We have seen how much restore performance we get from S3 buckets to this. So we have all those numbers which we can share you, which we can share with you when you are ready to move. Now, one thing, DB2 engine is ahead of all other engines, which is very important from the differentiated standpoint, is that DB2 native utilities have a much better integration with Amazon S3. So what does that mean? That you could load a table directly from S3 to RDS DB2. One thing, since it is a managed service, you don't get access to shell. That means you cannot SSH to the machine. And that puts a little uncomfortableness in the minds of the DBAs who are always used to log into the server and do their things. So that thing is, you will be missing that part. But don't worry, because we are assuming much greater responsibility of managing those servers so that you could just focus on the rest of the other things. So initially it may feel a little bit, or some powers have been taken away from the DBAs, but over the as you get more comfortable with RDS DB2 service, you will realize, oh, there is a lot to learn to automate here, and there is a lot to do in terms of what you could accomplish with RDS DB2 with all other integrations that we have with the services. So just coming back to the load part again. So DB2 load is fully integrated with S3, and we are leveraging that part. That's number one. Number two, since internal traffic of S3 from any region to your region is on a very high speed bandwidth, we get a very good migration speed from S3 to this. So the other option is that you could just run a DB2 client attached to your instance, and you can run few commands which you are very used to, list, utility, show detail, etc. And then you just do a admin CMD and load from S3. You are actually doing what you would do onto your server itself. So through which you would get a much better performance as far as the migration part is concerned. Next slide, please. Right. So I think, Karthik, you can cover this part. So I know migration is going to be on the top of your mind. If any one of you need more information, please feel free to reach out to us. And Karthik will tell at the end how you can reach out to us, and then we'll be happy to walk you through. Or if you cannot find us, at least you can find me or Karthik or me on LinkedIn and send a message there. That's a way probably to reach out to us. Karthik, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Vikram. I hope you can hear me, Mohan.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect, thank you.
I can hear you well too. Thank you.
Perfect. So now that we saw the RDS for DB2's capabilities, the licensing and pricing options, the migration options, let's spend some time on how DB2 is built for RDS, right? As I said, like the service is built in collaboration with IBM. So IBM and AWS our engineering teams and product teams are closely collaborate on the service to ensure that we provide you the best possible customer experience. When we launched the service, we supported from DB2 Launch 5.9. That had a lot of features required for DB2 databases to be run on RDS. We have requested, or like IBM has provided us numerous improvements to DB2, including the ability to take care of using the native services for migration, and then we have the backup and restore options to S3, which provides some performance improvements. We also have lots of security enhancements that comply with our rigorous IBM and AWS standards. We developed a joint migration tooling to ensure there's a smooth transition for customers from on-premises or self-managed environments to RDS. And there's a multi-year commitment to keep enhancing this service, right, going forward. And you will see new versions being supported soon after IBM makes it available. And there are features or like specific features that are built for RDS. With that said, like we have a lot of IBM applications that have certified for RDS for DB2 out of the box. In fact, you don't require these certifications if these applications are using the same DB2 image. But we still are working with a lot of these application teams to ensure that they test it and like add a documentation or a blog so that it helps customers like you to use or migrate these applications along with the databases, DB2 databases to RDS DB2. To start with, we have the Open Pages. Open Pages supports or certifies RDS DB2. The Open Pages SaaS product also uses RDS for DB2. And then we have What's Next data, which supports RDS for DB2. They have Cognos Analytics. You can run Cognos Analytics with RDS DB2 instances. Sterling Order Management, you can use it. We are continuously working with many others as well. A few in progress are Maximo, the FileNet, InfoSphere Data Replication, and this is an expanding list, right? So if you have any particular application, IBM application, feel free to contact us or IBM, and this will be on our list to tell you like how to run it with RDS for DB2. So the service, again, my favorite phrase, built on the same foundations of other RDS services. It was launched with most of the enterprise capabilities and features at the launch. Right. If you compare the feature capabilities with other RDS services, it will have 80 to 90% of the features on RDS DB2. But still, like we understand that DB2 customers have their own preferences when it comes to running the DB2 databases, and we have make sure like we have followed up with some of the feature releases that you see here since the launch of the RDS for DB2 service. We talked about the Harley licenses that was launched recently, which is again from the feedback from you folks. We have the local time zone support. So if your applications require you to run it on your own local time zone, you can set it on at the time of instance creation. The important one here is the license manager. In your self-managed environments, you're most likely managing your licenses using IBM license management tool or ILMT. But with RDS DB2, you have another service, which is again a free of cost AWS license manager. It helps you to track all the DB2 licenses. In fact, what we have done is we have tightly integrated the service with RDS for DB2, meaning whenever you create a RDS DB2 instance using a AWS management console, you can create a AWS license manager configuration or a license configuration for your DB2 standard or advanced edition. Once you set it up, it automatically tracks your usage. Let's say you increase your standard edition footprint or you decrease it, it keeps a track of all those licenses. What it also helps you to provide an export to your S3 account, and you can take that export and you can use it for auditing or for internal reconciliation purposes. So that's a very important integration that could help you make your life easy for managing your licenses. We continuously ensure that we support the newest and the greatest of instance types, or the regions, the additional regions where we support them. So you can see that there are some instance types with M6i and R6i. We supported additional regions. The same with X2 IEDN. We support the initially when we launched the service. When we launched the service, we supported IO1, and then we launched the support for IO2 Block Express, which provides a sub-millisecond latency or 99.999% durability. RDS DB2 supports audit logging, so you can export your audit logs to S3. Another feature that is again important for mainframe customers migrating from mainframe is the fsedict collation sequence. So if your databases need them, like you can use those collation sequences at the start of their instance creation. The service supports cross-region automated backups and up to 5,000 database users, which is standard for DB2 databases. You would again, we are coming close to the end of this presentation. Before we move on to the Q&A, we have covered a very high level of the features or the most important features. With RDS for DB2, it doesn't mean that like you cannot continue to run what you're doing or you're losing any control. You're getting your control to run your DB2 databases and the features, like say the way you want to set up your database, other things of your databases, you can continue to do that, but in a slightly different way in RDS, because if you have your DB Atom access, you can do that. But if you need a little more higher level of access, you can do that you can continue to modify all these using stored procedures or RDS parameter groups. So all these are easier ways to tune your databases or configure your databases, either at the time of creation of your instances or maybe after your instances are created. You can also run your stored procedures on, like for example, if you're having a SQL-based stored procedures or a Java-based stored procedures that are running on your DB2 databases, you can continue to run on a database, RDS DB2 instances. Like some of the things that you cannot do with the services, like for example, we do not provide you a host level access, and because we want to ensure that we provide a highly secure service for customers like you and for everyone. So you will not be able to install any agents or install any co-locate any particular applications, but you could always install them on a EC2 and connect with RDS for DB2. There are options. For example, there could be like if it's a standard applications, we are happy to engage in a conversation and see if there is a way for you to enable using options group, which is a RDS concept. So that brings us to the end of this initial session. Some key takeaways here. RDS for DB2 provides you an opportunity to simplify your database management. Again, it's not here to take away the controls or what you're doing. but to simplify your life so that you can focus on higher valuable tasks. So run your business critical transactional, operational, or analytical databases, especially if you want to migrate to cloud. RDS DB2 is a best option you will see for your managed DB2 databases, because with moving to cloud, there'll be lots of other aspects that you would need to focus on so that you can offload all those redundant tasks with the managed DB2 databases. We are in a world like where the applications are evolving really quickly, and we are seeing that there's a need for enabling AI or generative AI capabilities to your applications or your databases. With on-premises, you have to set up most likely all this on your own, whether you're setting up your AI, LLMs, and all these aspects. Whereas cloud provides you a best option to migrate them and integrate with other AWS services that helps you to do all those, like including like AWS Bedrock, the Queue for Business, and all those aspects. So RDS for DB2 is in a step, takes you in a step in that way, right? Like you can integrate with or connect with other AWS and IBM services. So this includes like things like data warehouse or analytics or AI ML services, and helps you to achieve your AI journey. So get started. Like we have lots of resources, right? aws.amazon.com, RDS DB2, that's our service page. We also have a news blog, we have a service page, we have a technical documentation, and this is a link for the DB2 migration tooling. That it's a GitHub link that we collaborated with IBM and launched it. That's about it. I'll take a pause here. I'll turn it over to Mohan for the questions.
Thanks, Karthik. Let's start with the very first question about when we try to launch RDS with an Amazon for testing purposes, do we need to get the licenses? How do we launch a testing environment without having to have a license?
Okay, I'll take that.
Sure.
So again, we at RDS we help you to set up and operate scaled DB2 databases, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't directly sell DB2 licenses.
Right.
The editions that are available or supported are standard and advanced at this point of time. In future, there could be more options for you to run something like a community, like which will not be able to reveal it publicly, but roadmaps are confidential. Like we are happy to engage it. Right.
Okay.
Today's case, if you want to run a proof of concept or get started with RDS for DB2, what you can do is with no or I would say with minimal licenses, you could create an RDS DB2 instance using your standard edition licenses from the marketplace. And the standard editions licenses are sold on a hourly basis, and I think it's close to $1 per core, which provides you a very minimal cost.
Okay.
Alternatively, you can also contact an IBM representative and get your evaluation licenses, right? Today, when you create RDS DB2 instances, you have to provide your IBM customer ID and site ID. So please do, like if you want to evaluate RDS DB2, you may be getting a 90-day evaluation from an IBM representative. So contact them, and before you enter your customer ID, site ID, inform them so that they keep a track of it. And the other way I told is the marketplace license.
Right. Got it.
If you're looking for a POC on RDS for infrastructure related, feel free to contact your AWS representative to cover your costs for your POC.
Got it. Thank you. Let's take a next question about the initial load. What are the recommended ways to perform initial load, bulk load, syncing data? I think it's all covered. It was all covered with Vikram's slide, where he was talking about initial load can be done using your native load from S3 bucket, and also you can perform the bulk load using S3 bucket, and then syncing replication, that's going to be a QRep or your DMS service, right?
DMS, and in addition, if you are running on, like if you are bringing your native Linux database backup, you can bring your archive logs to S3, and we will roll forward automatically for you. So there is just the 3 stored procedures through which you restore a database, you roll forward, and it will continue to do the task, and then you do roll forward complete.
Great. There's an interesting question about loading data from on-premise system using IBM Lift CLI. So those were provided to perform the data migration from ground up to cloud data migrations, right, for warehouse. Is that still supported for RDS?
So Lift uses block storage APIs, which are also compatible, or IBM block storage, sorry, IBM IBM S3 equivalent storage, COS, Cloud Object Store. I was struggling to get the name. So
cloud object storage.
So COS API are compatible with, or actually COS made APIs compatible with S3. So you should be able to use by changing the provider from COS to S3.
Got it. The next question is about DMC. Can DMC monitor RDS for DB2 databases?
Of course it can, and we have documented this very well in our documentation. I'll try to post a link here.
All right, and then the last question is about DMC repository database. Can that be located on-prem, or can that be on RDS as well?
It can be located on EC2, it can be located on-prem, it can be located on RDS DB2.
Great. So if you want to explain more about Kent's question about 5,000 users, let's say if I have a database or application which is needed almost about 10,000 connections or 15,000 connections, how are we going to make it work with an RDS?
Yeah. So like, by the way, I posted the link for Amazon RDS for DB2 support for IBM Data Management Console. We have given step-by-step process. You could do either way you want to.
Got it.
As far as the users are concerned, we have our custom-built login plugin through which we allow up to maximum 5,000 local users. They are per se, so like in a DB2, in the DB2 world, they will be the operating system users, but in our world, they are the users that we maintain ourselves. And that information is there onto the server. So when you take a backup, restore, that information carries forward so that you don't have to worry about that part. We have put a limit there, 5,000. It's an arbitrary limit, just to say. But if you need more than 5,000 users and you don't want to use Active Directory, maybe open up a case with us. We will look into it. But if you really need more than 5,000 users, then chances are you would have those users somewhere in your Active Directory which you want to use for authentication purposes. So mostly local users are the ones when your database is mom and pop, only few people use it. But if you have an enterprise kind of a database, then you need authentication which can go across multiple domains, zones, etc. So that's where the Active Directory comes, and we fully support Active Directory even with the Kerberos. We have customers who are also doing a POC right now to actually do a one-way forest trust to the other AD, so that this could just act like a proxy and then actual users are somewhere else. So that's the reasoning behind local users. Does it help answer your question?
Sure, yeah, certainly. Thank you.
Okay.
I think that's the end of the questions. So I'm going to pull back the presenter session. Let me know when you see my screen. Let me share my screen. Is it not showcasing my screen here?
Yeah, I think we are seeing your screen now. Yes, the DB2Night show.
Yeah, night show picture, right? Okay, so let's see, it's not moving. Do you see my next about the DBI software? No?
No, we don't see it.
Okay. So, it's not sharing. Oh, show my screen. Okay, got it. Thanks, Karthik and Vikram, again for providing great insights into Amazon RDS for DB2 capabilities, migration roadmap, and answering all the questions we have from audience. Right. Today's show was sponsored by DBI. DBIsoftware.com is the website to visit, and then any performance problems you have, this is the link to go and then talk to. 5 clicks away to solve your problems with performance. Right, so this is a look and feel of the product, which is the thin client, not like a thick client earlier. So you will be able to see it on your mobile devices, on your screen, on your big screen if you want to, and level 1 can keep watching these screens. This is going to be very easy to look at the performance and any problems you see in the production environment. All right, that being said, we are end of the session. Thanks again, Vikram and Karthik, Carl, Kent, and Martin, and everybody else who attended the training today. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Great show today.
By the way, I have one last question to ask. A polling question. The last one, did you learn anything today? As usual, the last question for today's session. Right, closing the poll, sharing the result.
I learned a ton. I'm gonna have to talk to Vikram and about some of the stuff that we discussed today, and Karthik about some of the stuff we talked about.
Awesome, thanks, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody learned something, and that's going to be a great thing. Learning every day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, and have a good day and good weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.